Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
What is up, and welcome into a very special off-season edition. We are the One and Done Show. We are your fast break of college basketball information. I am your host, Eric Romoff. You can catch me on those Twitter streets at FantasyNav. And he has actually grown a bit accustomed to his fandom being the subject of ridicule on the One and Done Show. And that all changes today. He's got to be feeling pretty excited. He is MC Holland 34 on Twitter. He is the captain of our ship, Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, how's it going today? You ready for a fun show?
Yeah, I'm definitely ready, man. We've been talking to a lot of reporters, 24/7 guys across the country about, the offseason of college basketball. Me, myself right now, working on a bunch of previews, just got done with the MAC. I think we'll start our previews with the ACC and Big East next week. It's just been exciting times as we get closer and closer. I know every show keeps saying football's around the corner. Basketball's just right behind that. So it's definitely fall is in the air, and man, it feels like it's going to rain soon. So it's been 100 degrees down here in Austin, Texas for what seems like forever. And today we get to talk to one of Austin's finest. He covers Texas football and men's basketball for the Austin American Statesman. He's my guy, Brian Davis. Brian, thank you for joining us. I'm super excited. How are you?
What's up, boys? How we doing today?
Doing
good.
We
are doing good. Everyone out there on YouTube, go ahead and show Brian a little bit of love by hitting that like and subscribe button. Brian, really appreciate you making some time for us here today. I want to start with the relatively newly minted Chris Beard, right? He comes in from a very successful run at Texas Tech. There was a pretty heated coaching search as we ultimately landed with Chris Beard last year. And now he's got some key veterans returning, right? Some pretty high expectations there in Austin. So I want to know from you, were you a Beard guy during that search, and how would you assess his first year there in Austin?
Well, I'll tell you this much. It was pretty obvious that a change needed to be made. The thing about it is that everybody to a man, me included. I'm the president of the Shaka Smart fan club, but he just didn't win enough games. He just didn't win enough games. And so, Texas had to make a change. I think everybody, including him, realized, that it was time for something new. And, I was one of the ones who I told Chris Del Conte at one point, look, let's make this easy. Just go get Beard and call it a day. Right. The thing is that in my view of who Texas could realistically get versus who was out there, it's always a warped sense of reality. People think that Texas can go out and get Mike Krzyzewski, right? Or they think that they can go out and get, Lute Olson or, Bob Knight in his heyday, whoever great coach you want to name, right? But that's not reality, okay? But the reality is that Beard was very gettable, much to the chagrin of Texas Tech. I really do think he would have crawled on broken glass from Lubbock to Austin. And, I think a lot of Tech fans are still upset to this day, how dare he leave us? But my whole feeling on the whole matter is that Texas got a guy who is a UT guy, and Texas Tech got a guy who is a diehard Red Raider. In fact, Tech fans, the ones in the know, they would tell you that Mark Adams was the whole brains behind the operation, and Tech, the smart money at Tech is like, well, we got the best guy anyway. Okay, great. Then why? Then everybody should be happy. Everybody should be happy, and yet they're not. So. We saw what happened last year when the Horns went to Lubbock and the craziness around all that. And then when Tech fans infiltrated the Drum this past year, that was crazy too. But bottom line is, I think both schools got great coaches. I think Tech, we're here to talk about Texas, obviously. And for the Horns, I really think it's sort of solidified Beard's place, if you will, that he got that NCAA monkey off Texas's back. To not have an NCAA win since 2014, to beat Virginia Tech and do it convincingly. They get to the Purdue game, second round game, way too many fouls. Texas didn't not get the benefit of the doubt on anything that night, so just too many fouls. But the bottom line is that they got an NCAA win. Beard has a really good core coming back, which we're going to talk about. And, he would never say this, in my view. He would never say this, but I thought year one was a raging success for Chris Beard and the Longhorns.
Yeah, you mentioned the Tech game. That was pretty intense there. Some say that's the loudest they've ever heard a college basketball game. So it was definitely fun to watch, and Beard did some good things in his first season. But just looking at the offseason, looking at this roster, Texas needs to replace guys that felt like they were in Austin forever. Courtney Ramey, Andrew Jones are gone. They're bringing in one of the crown jewels of the transfer portal in Iowa State, Tyrese Hunter. Serge Jabari Smith's coming over from New Mexico State. So how do you see these two guys fitting in? And will these additions help Marcus Carr kind of return to what we saw him play like when he was at Minnesota in the consensus #1 transfer?
I mean, I really do. I mean, first off, I think it's terrific for Courtney Ramey. If I could talk about him for just a quick second, I thought it was great that here's a guy who has given Texas his all. And in return, he got a diploma. He did everything that was asked of him. And for him to take his extra year and go to Arizona, I'm a big Courtney Ramey fan. So I'm really happy for him. I'm also happy for Andrew Jones, AJ going overseas and getting some foreign experience, start his pro career. I think that's great. But the guys that you mentioned coming in here, I think are going to be huge for Marcus Carr, especially, Hunter. Here's a guy who can basically take over the point guard duties and allow Marcus Carr to shift to the 2, to where I feel like he's probably better suited for that. Not that he's not a ball handler, because he obviously is, but I think creating his shot off the ball at the shooting guard spot is going to be better for him. And I think Hunter is more of a pure point guard type of thing. We saw that with the Cyclones this past year. And look, one thing that when I've been up to Cooley a couple times already and talking to those folks about is that it's very, very rare for a Big 12 freshman of the year to be transferring within the conference. That's extremely rare. And I hope fans really understand what this is and what a get this is for Texas. Because my guess is he won't be here super long, right? If he continues on his projection the way he should do. But yeah, and we talk about Rice, just a phenomenal. It's hard. Well, obviously, let's be honest. No, the three of us, we didn't watch a lot of New Mexico State games over the years, right? But we've seen enough and we heard enough that he's Mr. Las Cruces, right? And anytime you can get a program guy into your program who knows what it takes and who wants to win, that's an awesome value add, I would think, right? So those two guys are going to be huge. Along with the other guys that are coming back. I really like those two pickups out of the portal.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal pickups. We had a chance to chat with our friend Bruce Pascoe, who covers the Arizona Wildcats, and the feeling is mutual. They're absolutely thrilled to have Ramey coming over for another season. And you really hit the nail on the head with regard to Hunter, right? Not only is it a huge get for the Longhorns, but also it nicks away at Iowa State there, right? So kind of a twofer. I want to continue to look at some of the additions for this team, but specifically talk about this 4-man recruiting class, right? It comes in at 6th ranked by composite in 24/7. It's highlighted by 2 5-star players, Arterio Morris, Dylan Mitchell. So from your vantage point, how important was it for Beard to really get a complete recruiting class into this program? And are there potentially some X factors in those wings?
Well, I think the fact that Texas is a school that should be going after hamburger All-Americans. They absolutely should. And they're getting them, 2 of them in Morris and Mitchell, 2 really good pickups. It would not shock me if Dylan Mitchell is maybe as a surprise starter. I've seen enough to know that, okay, that dude can play, right? We've seen enough to see that he should be on the floor getting some minutes early on. And, not that Arterio isn't, but it just with the guard situation, he might be in that second wave of guys, the guys that come in, at the TV timeout or somewhere in there initially, at least anyway. But Dylan Mitchell, long arms, big body, great frame, can put weight on that frame. That's going to be good because I think that they need some help inside. I do think that they need a few more bigger bodies to go in there and bang. Timmy Allen, who's a 20th year senior, it feels like this is coming up. I wrote this and I believe it. I feel like he plays bigger than 6'6", if that is a thing, right? I mean, not that plays like a 7-footer, but he gets rebounds and he does things that, and then you look down and you go, wow, only 6'6", wow. But they need bigger beef. They need bigger guys in there, I still think of early on. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. You think of Cam Ridley, Prince Ebay, Bamba, those guys. So Texas is a team that has always had length, right? And Dylan Mitchell fits that role. And with Arterio, we addressed it right up front. His issue. He was arrested obviously during the summer. That issue is being left up to the legal system right now. As of this recording, he is still a cleared member of the Texas program. He has not been suspended, so I don't expect much to happen with that. So he'll be ready to go when the season starts. And and then there's a couple other freshmen that people don't really know much about. Rowan Brumbaugh and Alex. I'm scared to pronounce his last name.
Don't do it.
You probably wanted me to do it. Right.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Double A is what I'm gonna call that guy. Right. What's interesting is that the guys in Cooley have been talking about that Rowan is sneaky good, very, very underrated. One of the best players in Massachusetts, comes down here. And I think the beauty for him is that no one expects much anything. They're just like, who's this dude? Right. I think that's actually going to be a huge help for him when the year gets going.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Dylan Mitchell, and it'll be interesting to see what Beard does with the starting five. I think you kind of have to have him out there with his shot blocking ability and just his athleticism. But let's talk about a little bit more about the front court, right? You mentioned Timmy Allen, Christian Bishop. It's kind of an undersized tandem there. You've got Dylan Dessou coming back. He's another year removed. So, how do you see Beard kind of deploying these pieces? Do you think we see Allen maybe slide down to that 3 spot? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, when I think about the front court and I think about those guys individually, I think of a TA. I think an awesome 15-foot elbow jumper guy who can go in there and get you some boards as well. And, I personally, I thought Bishop was really coming on in February and the first part of March. I thought he had a really strong second half of conference play last year to show that he was on the come, right? He was definitely coming. And I think I expect a big breakout year for CB as well. And Dylan Dessou, I think Beard truly believes that him not being fully healthy at the start of last year was a major problem. I mean, look, anybody coming off of a major knee surgery is going to be tentative. I think anybody would expect that, right? And then it's almost like I've wondered this too, and I asked the guys about this. It's like by the time Dylan was ready to go, the rotation was basically set at that point, and it would have been hard to break in and like, hey, let's give Dylan Dessou 20, 25 minutes. Well, wait a minute, the team's kind of already set and they're midway through conference at that point. But what's funny is that when we went to the open practice that they had at Moody Center, talking to Dylan. Man, his attitude was so different. His demeanor was different. It just the guy was smiling. In fact, I laughed at him. I said, "Dude, you're smiling. Look at that!" And that made him smile even bigger. So he's fully healthy. He's fully cleared. And I think what we're going to see this year, knock on computer laptop titanium here. I think what we're going to see is the Dylan Dessou that was leading the SEC in rebounds before he got hurt, right? So, I mean, because let's be honest, he was on pace to lead that league in rebounds at Vandy, and then he got hurt and it stopped. So, Mike, to your point, another a huge big body, a huge ad. Dylan Mitchell, Dylan Dessou, go crash the glass. CB. Timmy Allen right there, to clean up messes, and you got the guards in the back. I like the structure of the front court a lot with that kind of setup.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to like about this front court. It is almost an embarrassment of riches for Chris Beard. We want to hear from you checking in on YouTube. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit those like and subscribe buttons, and then respond to this prompt in our comment section. Who is your favorite player in the Longhorns front court? Want to hear exactly what the Longhorns faithful have to say about a very deep part of the roster. Brian, I want to zoom out a little bit. We've been kind of talking about different parts of this deployment, and I want to talk about the overall scheme that Chris Beard runs, right? It's biometric, one of the slowest tempoed teams in the country, and he's been known as a very defensive-minded coach. Typically runs a pretty slow motion offense. So, now that we're heading into year 2, is there likelihood for a bit of an evolution in this offense, or do you think it's a little bit more of the same for Chris Beard?
Well, I think the offense might pick up the pace. I don't know, right? I mean, see, I had you there, right? Here's the thing about the offense, right? I asked Beard about is there things you can do to pick up the pace just a tick, and my whole thing is that, look, you don't have to be the running Rebels out there, okay? This doesn't have to be the Jerry Tarkanian Rebels, okay? But how about give yourself a few extra possessions, right? That was one of the things that always wore me down with Shaka's teams, is that they didn't give themselves enough chances, right? And how many games did we see would come down, the score would be in the high 50s, low 60s, right? And the final score would be 64-63 or 67-68, whatever, right? And I just feel like the college basketball, I don't know why college basketball just doesn't go to the NBA shot clock. They might as well. I mean, they're trying to copy the game, everything else. I mean, I say just go all in. Give it the 24-second shot clock and go to the international lane to create spacing. The only thing about it, though, is that these college coaches will say, oh, whoa, we don't have enough time with these guys to put in all this offense. And I'm like, that's bull. That's BS, right? Yeah, you do. You can make it work, right? So, because not to go off on my super big soapbox tangent here, but college basketball as a product, at times it's terrible, right? It is a terrible product at times. The athletes overall are just not as good shooters now as they were, 10, 20, 30 years ago. They're just not. And so there has to be more things put in place that can help facilitate scoring. And that's why I think, faster pace of play is going to help that. Now, back to Beard, I get it. He wants to be the guy that wins, 50-49. Okay. And, the people the fans that I write for and talk to and all that, nobody comes to me to hear me, describe the benefits of a zone offense versus a man, whatever, they just want to see the ball go in the hole. Right. And so, I'm sure you guys have had people on your podcast that can talk about, the fundamentals of, icing the guard to the side, whatever. That's not me. Right. So, I just think that moving the ball a little bit faster, more cutting, more passing, and what's always been known to be true is you attack the middle of the zone, right? You attack the nail on the floor at the free throw line, and usually good things happen. Attack the stripe, look down at the boxes, get yourself some layups, and I'm also not one of these guys that thinks that we should all live and breathe on analytics. I mean, I get it. People think that the 3 is more valuable than the 2. I get it. But, dump it down, get yourself a bucket, and go play defense is how I feel. Now, that being said, get off my lawn.
Right. I was there at the Kansas game, and it was a pretty fast-paced game, and look what happened, right? So we had that to hold on to last year. Yeah. But taking a step back, just want to get some quick thoughts about the Texas program and NIL. Can't talk about college basketball, really college athletics, without talking about NIL. So what type of market's out here in Austin? And, has anything surprised you since NIL became an option for these players?
Well, I really do think that that Texas basketball should be applauded for getting some NIL money early. Every player got at least $10,000 last year. I mean, I've reported that in the Statesman, and that's kind of a known thing. Beard also confirmed that on the record with me. Other players got other deals, and so that was good to see. I just think that NIL is going to be a huge benefit going forward. It's not going to surprise me if we find out closer to when basketball starts. It's not going to surprise me that NIL money helped keep Marcus Carr and Timmy Allen in school. That won't surprise me one bit, because I think what will happen, guys, is that NIL is that people who put money into these collectives are going to get smart about who gets that money, and I think people are going to start paying for experienced players and not paying unproven high school seniors to come to their school, right? I think that what'll happen is sort of a I don't want to call it a salary cap, but a salary structure will be put in place. Will come into effect, and so guys like Timmy Allen, Marcus Carr, Dylan DeSue, Courtney Ramey, Andrew Jones, those type of guys will get more NIL chances going forward than, say, Dylan Mitchell and Arterio Morris will, right? Because those guys are proven. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Yeah, we've had the chance to talk a lot about NIL over really the entirety of the offseason. And I don't think we've heard anyone posit that type of structure before. So definitely an interesting point of view. I do think there's some merit to it. Continuing to kind of zoom out a little bit, Texas is heading into another year in an absolutely loaded Big 12 conference. They were the number one conference according to Ken Palm last year. It seems like they were going to be as good or better heading into this season. So I want to get your point of view. How do you see this Big 12 shaking out as Texas faces off against the Kansas, the Baylors, the Texas Techs of the world?
Well, I'll tell you this. The one thing that I really like about Big 12 is that the league has reached a point where players move on, but a whole nother wave of guys come in, right? And there's not much drop off. And to me, that's a real sign of where the league is at. I mean, look, on this particular topic, I am a Big 12 homer, and I don't deny that. I never have. I'm a straight up Big 12 homer. When it comes to the tournament, I want Tech, Baylor, even OU. I mean, all of them. I want all of them to do well because it speaks to the league, right? Now, when Texas and OU go to the SEC, I'll probably be on here going, "Oh, the SEC is the best, right? It's the best of everything, right? The best planes, the best food, the best basketball, you name it." No, but I really do. All jokes aside, I mean, I really do think the Big 12 is the best basketball league. And look, we know Kansas is going to be good. We know that Baylor's going to be there. I think Iowa State's recruiting class is really solid. I think that's sneaky solid good. I think they're going to get over losing Tyrese Hunter real quick, in my view. And I do hate when coaches use this cliche about how, every night's a battle, every night's a war, blah, 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 right? Well, I hate that, but it's true. To me, it really is true. The number 10 team can beat the number 1 team in this league on any given night. That really is true. That's not just coach speak. And so the 18 round war of this deal is fascinating to me. And it's like if you could sit here and name me a bunch of guys that are going to come in here, I'll probably tell you, yeah, that team's going to be solid. And so it'll be fun. It'll be fun when the season gets here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be another fun season. Looking forward to it. But before we get you out of here, Brian, finally, just need to ask you what needs to happen for this team to make it to the second weekend of the tournament. And, is there a world where the Longhorns can get to the Final Four since 2003?
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. This team's going to have that type of potential. There's no question about it. And to me, that should be the goal now I would imagine that Chris Beard is thinking that, that Texas needs to continually take steps forward, right? And so in that vein, I would imagine that the goal this year is to finish in the top 2 in the conference, right? So they were 4th, so they need to be 1, 2, or 3 next season. Then, obviously, to your point, they need to get to the second weekend, right? This team hadn't been to the second weekend I don't know. It's been so long. I got to look that up, right? It's been a while, right? But the thing that is cool that I think that what Beard did in the first year was that he made basketball cool again at Texas, right? He made it interesting, and he did that with a good product on the floor, no doubt. An entertaining show on the sideline, a little bit. But you got to get the students involved, and what he's doing with the fireside chats and giving away all the free food at all these events. Their marketing people need to stand up and take a bow, because I believe the statistic is that the lower bowl of student seating, which is I want to say it's 1,200 seats, was sold out every game. That was full every game, and I was at all of them. I can attest to that. They were. And so going forward, when they move into the Moody Center this year, those students are going to have the best seats in the house, right behind both benches, right behind the scores table, and you're going to see it on TV. And Texas needs its students to show up and, as Max said, come early, be loud, and stay late, right? That they need that. And so I really do think that the arena is going to be a big time game changer for the program this year. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but when you're standing at the free throw line in Moody Center and you're looking up through the glass of the backboard, you can see the Champagne Lounge, in the frame of the backboard. And I asked Brock about that. I said, Brock, what's going on up there in the Champagne room, and Brock tells me, he goes, what do you call it when you're shaking up champagne balls and you're spraying everybody? I said, you call that going crazy? He says, yeah. He goes, they need to be doing that on every free throw. 6 bottles of champagne on every free throw. Just, right? And I was like, God, boy, damn, that'd be awesome, right? And so I think the atmosphere is going to be great. I think the team's going to be good. The head coach is the right guy for the job, and they need to get it done. They got to get it done.
Brian Davis, the Austin American Statesman, thank you very much for spending some time with us this afternoon. If you out there are a Texas Longhorns fan, if you are a Big 12 fan, if you're a college sports fan and you are not following Brian, you need to fix that. Get over.
If you're a human being, you need to be following
B. Davis.
Even an alien. If you're an alien,
absolutely plugged in and is a ton of fun to chat with. Check out all of his work, statesman.com, hookem.com. And if you are also not already a member of the drroto.com subscriber base, get over there, get yourself signed up, get into that members only Discord. Let's get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well